Good evening again, YouTube friends. Trevor here, and you're probably wondering why I'm dressed all fancy and in black. Well, I'm here to honor the life and the greatness of what used to be called Star Wars. And yeah, I know we've had a lot of talks about The Last Jedi and what I thought about it, but an article just went up on IndieWire.com where J.J. Abrams was interviewed about his upcoming film, Episode 9, and the article is titled, J.J. Abrams states, Star Wars fans who didn't like The Last Jedi are threatened by women characters. Okay. As he prepares to get back into the Star Wars universe, the filmmaker gets honest about fan criticism of The Last Jedi and how it won't impact his next feature. Okay, right off the bat. He's all on board on the Kathleen Kennedy vagina gravy train. He's drunk the Kool-Aid. He knows that he's been hired to do her bidding. He knows that he has to do what she wants. And what she wants is pushing diversity. The best man for the job be damned. We're going to put someone in there that isn't someone you've seen in a major feature movie like this before. Because diversity. Let me ask you a question. How about we start hiring doctors for the same reason? It doesn't matter their medical background or how well they did in medical school. Just because they have a different skin color or a different ethnicity or a different belief system, we're going to make them doctors because diversity. How well would that work out? Would you trust that doctor? Would you take your kids to that doctor? No, you wouldn't. Why? Because they probably don't know what the fuck they're doing. But diversity, right? That's why I'm wearing all black tonight. I am, like I said before, we need to dig a hole and put this dead son of a bitch in the ground, and J.J. Abrams is the pallbearer. He's going to be the one that carries it to its grave. Continuing with the article, as he prepares to re-enter Star Wars universe with his upcoming and still untitled Episode 9, The Force Awakens filmmaker J.J. Abrams is unbothered by the recent backlash to the diversity of Star Wars The Last Jedi. Asked by IndieWire about pushback from Star Wars fans who decried Rian Johnson's film for its focus on more female-centric stories, bolstered by the addition of franchise newbies like Laura Dern and Kelly Marie Tran, Abrams was clear. Their problem isn't Star Wars, their problem is being threatened. No, our problem is bad writing. Our problem is bad storytelling and putting people in a position basically to rob the male character of any heroism without giving the females any heroism except, Admiral Holdo. And even then, like I said, I was glad to see her die because she was completely dumb. She held back any knowledge of what the actual plan was from the people that were threatening a mutiny. Don't you think if you're in charge of a certain thing and the people start turning on you because they don't know what exactly you're doing and you're so secretive, yeah, loose lips sink ships, but, tight lips, create mutiny. And then you had people, they say Laura Dern and Kelly Marie Tran. Kelly Marie Tran's job was to basically rob Finn of being a hero. To basically make him a nobody. And like I always said, he should have died. We were ready for him to die, doing something great, giving him some depth. He's a main character, and he was robbed of that moment by her. And it didn't develop into anything more. It's not the female that's the problem. It's the story. You didn't write a good story. You subverted expectations. That was Lucasfilm and Kathleen Kennedy's whole purpose with The Last Jedi, was to subvert expectations. And basically, if you don't like it, you're a sexist, which is basically what I'm being told here. I'm a sexist because I didn't like The Last Jedi because women were in charge. I didn't like The Last Jedi because it was a shit story. I don't care. I loved Princess Leia. I've always loved her character. Ahsoka Tano in the Clone War series and in the new Rebels, I love her character too. At least she has an arc. At least she has some sense of heroism and At least she drives the story forward. Laura Dern's character just withheld the story and didn't tell her lead pilot why she was doing what she was doing. She's just like, I have a vagina, you have a penis, I'm the state, and you're, a guy who's late on child support. Continuing. In December, an alt-right group claimed responsibility for lowering the film's Rotten Tomatoes scores, claiming that its issues with the film partially stemmed from introducing more female characters into the franchise's universe. What alt-right group? I've read things from Rotten Tomatoes where they said, no, the data doesn't show that it was hacked. That's what the movie score is. Alt-right group? An alt-right group, really? No, it's called Star Wars fans. And basically, this is what they're saying, is that if you're a Star Wars fan and you didn't like The Last Jedi, you're part of the alt-right, the sexist, misogynistic, patriarchal, fucking white, straight males that, worship Hitler or something like that. What the fuck's that? I mean, this is what we're getting. They're not going to change Episode 9. They're not going to make it the kind of movie that Star Wars fans are hoping for. They're hoping to drive more female people into the theater seats and more people of different ethnic and religious and, basically, if you're a white guy who grew up loving Star Wars, fuck you. That's what this is saying. Continuing. As the Telegraph noted at the time, user reviews include comments like politically correct to the point of boredom, social justice warrior propaganda, and I'm frustrated that feminism and diversity have made their way into this film. This has ruined Star Wars for me as well as my kids. Keep liberalism out of it and stop ruining once good things. Those don't sound like hate speech remarks. Those sound like truth. Those sound like what people were wanting. Like I said, Star Wars is an escapism, and they turned it into a goddamn billboard for, ultra neoliberal, progressives who want nothing more than to tear down what the old world was built by. Straight white males who love Star Wars. You don't get that anymore. Anyway, continuing. Abrams was unfazed. Quote, Star Wars is a big galaxy, and you can sort of find almost anything you want in Star Wars, he said. If you are someone who feels threatened by women and needs to lash out against them, you can probably find an enemy in Star Wars. You can probably look at the first movie that George Lucas did and say that Leia was too outspoken or she was too tough. Anyone who wants to find a problem with anything can find the problem. The internet seems to be made for that. Leia was too outspoken and too tough? If anything, she was underutilized in those movies. She was strong and she was outspoken, but I think she could have been even more outspoken. I didn't want Princess Leia to be categorized as a weak woman. She was not a weak woman, and you could see that. And he says that that's what JJ, if that is the case, if people hate Star Wars because Leia was too outspoken or too tough, how come we didn't hear anything about that back in the 70s and the 80s when Star Wars was all the craze? How come no one was coming out saying that? Because she wasn't too outspoken and she wasn't too tough. She was perfect and we fell in love with her. This is, oh my God, he didn't just drink the Kool-Aid. He drank the whole fucking jug. Continuing with the article. Asked if fan outcry would at all impact his vision for the upcoming film, Abrams was clear. Quote, not in the least, he said, adding, there is a lot I would like to say about it, but I feel like it's a little early to be having the Episode 9 conversation. I will say that the story of Rey and Poe and Finn and Kylo Ren, and if you look, there are 3 men and 1 woman. To those that are complaining that there are too many women in Star Wars, their story continues in a way that I couldn't be more excited about and cannot wait for people to see. I'm not excited, JJ. Continuing. Abrams has weathered this sort of blowback before. Quote, I think everyone is going to have their point of view, Abrams said. Certainly something I discovered early on in the Star Wars world is that you're going to have an incredibly passionate and vocal fan base, and they're all going to have a lot of specific opinions. Yes, they do. And I do agree, there are those crazies out there who don't like anything at all. But I grew up loving Star Wars, and The Force Awakens was pretty good. Could have been better, but it was pretty good. I took it at face value. I had nothing wrong with it. But Episode 8 was a piece of politically stinky shit. Continuing. Equality in the industry is currently top of mind for the filmmaker, as Abrams is being honored next week with the Athena Film Festival's Leading Man Award. Never heard of it. Given to, quote, men of Hollywood who have a strong track record of serving as vocal allies of and effective advocates for women in entertainment. Previous honorees include Paul Feig. Oh my God. Paul Feig. J.J. Abrams is in the same basket as Paul Feig. Paul Feig was a guy who did the new Ghostbusters movie that everyone hated. Oh my God. They're ghost-busting Star Wars. It's about time to put the corpse in the hearse, I'd say. Continuing, Abrams says, quote, I wish it weren't something that there was a need to do, he said when asked about the honor. It's a bit like Black History Month. Like, why should it just be a month? Why can't it just be part of history? I agree with you there. Black history is American history. Why does there have to be a special award for someone who is working to be as collaborative with as many women as possible? That's simply good business. We will keep making mistakes and trying to do better, but the end game is equality. No, the end game is quality, not equality, quality. When it comes to shit like Star Wars, these huge cash cows, these huge umbrellas, it's not about equality, it's about quality. Look back in history. How often has Star Wars been about equality with the characters? Never. There are those who are strong and those who are weak. Even Obi-Wan said, the Force can have a very strong influence on the weak-minded. And like I said before, Ryan Johnson made it seem like to have the ability to manipulate the Force does not make you special anymore. It makes you, you're nobody. It's this nihilistic shit, and I'm wondering what the fuck. I mean, JJ, I used to have faith in this guy, especially like movies he's done in the past, like Super 8, which wasn't received well by audiences, but it was breathtaking because it was Spielbergian. He very much captured the essence of Steven Spielberg. Continuing, Abrams and his wife, Katie McGrath, are co-CEOs of the production company Bad Robot, and Abrams emphasized that equality in the industry and continuing to advocate for women inside of it is enormously important to them, and it impacts many of his production decisions. The filmmaker shared that in recent meetings targeted around employing crews and filmmakers for projects, he and McGrath have asked their agency, CAA, for a list of potential collaborators that, quote, represent the makeup of the country, and that immediately changed the conversation, he added. When you would look at lists through the optics or the lens of equality, they were shocking. Yes, you're in the movie industry. Not many women or minorities go into the movie industry because it takes a lot of work. You have to go through a lot of schooling. You have to be the best in your craft. And sometimes the majority of American populace, from what I can gather, and from what census, figures gather, is that this country is primarily white male. Sorry. This is not a eugenic type of discussion to be having. The majority of America, in the majority, is white males. And yes, movie making is a dream of many white males. Star Wars was loved by many white males. This is what built this empire, and now you're cutting its throat in the middle of the night while it's sleeping. He emphasized the need for the industry to look beyond its current talent rosters. So talent's out the window now. Fuck talent. If you got talent, fuck you. You're nobody. My point is, I am going to start a petition to have Kathleen Kennedy fucking kicked out of Lucasfilm. That she is ruining. I mean, it's either we let her just fucking shit right on Star Wars' face and, or piss on its grave or whatever. I mean, JJ's on board with her. JJ's on board with what Ryan Johnson did. And this is total fucking bullshit. I cannot fucking stand this shit. I'm being told I'm a sexist because I didn't like The Last Jedi. That's what I'm being told. So, I have nothing more to say about this. I was so sick of talking about The Last Jedi. Now it looks like Episode 9 is just going to be a complete middle finger to anyone who grew up loving Star Wars, especially if you're a straight white male. You're going to get the biggest middle finger from them you can. And, you know, I'm surprised I'm surprised Disney's not just right now hanging up signs saying if you see a white straight male, stab him. I'm surprised they're not doing this. This has become such a... Rest in peace, Star Wars. 1977 to 2017. It died at 40 years old. And now it's still going, so it's kind of like a fucking zombie. And we're not going to like what that zombie wants to do. It's going to devour everything you loved. There's a lot more to this article, and I don't want to read it because I'm just... I can't. It's just this... I was hoping that JJ would come in and actually make a concerted effort to fix this. And no, he's doubling down on Kathleen Kennedy and Rian Johnson's bullshit. So he didn't just eat that roast beef sandwich. He puked it back up and ate it again. This is fucking sick. This is fucking disgusting. I am not happy with where he wants to go. And how, since I'm a Star Wars fan and I'm white and I'm male and I didn't like the movie, suddenly I'm a sexist. I liked Rey in The Force Awakens. I was curious as to where they were going to take her. This isn't about sexism. It's about bad writing. It's about bad character development. So if anyone wants to get the finger pointed at them for fucking up Star Wars, it's the filmmakers. They didn't think this through. They just fucking rolled the dice and seen where it went, and that's the problem. So anyway, this is Trevor Klump saying, fuck Lucasfilm, fuck J.J. Abrams, fuck Rian Johnson, and I can't extend this long enough to satisfy Kathleen Kennedy's needs, because I'm sure she uses a 17-inch dildo just for a little tickle. Anyway, this has been a drunken dad rant, and I hope you have a good night, and do me a favor. I'm starting a petition to have Kathleen Kennedy fired. Sign it if you want or not. I don't care. I want this bitch out. If there's anyone in the world that I will be a sexist towards, it will be that fucking bitch, Kathleen Kennedy. Because this is too far. You're pushing an agenda in something you shouldn't be doing. Imagine your doctor wanted to start pushing, an experimental prescription on you. Well, wait, they do that already, don't they? Well, fuck it. We're screwed. Anyway, I hope you have a good night, and rest in peace, Star Wars, and may the Force be with you. Always.